Good morning. The video that you're watching is going to be Chapter 5, Section 3, Notes. Okay, this is Algebra 1, 7th period. You have to keep learning, okay? Keep learning. This pandemic is not going to last forever, so you have to keep at it. Don't fall behind. In 5.3, the goal is to write an equation and graph it using slope, intercept method. Write an equation and graph it using slope-intercept method. The slope-intercept formula is y equals mx plus b. This coefficient of x, the coefficient of x is the slope. Whatever number you get there, that's the slope. And notice that y is by itself. This is solved for on left side of equal sign. Okay, so this y is solved for on the left side of the equal sign. The equal sign is here. The number in front of x, the coefficient of x, is called the slope. Whatever number that is, you're going to get. Now this number, b, all right, could be positive or negative. This number b is when x is 0. So for example, if I have y equals 0 plus b, that's equal to b. Okay? So this number is called the y-intercept. This number is called the y-intercept. That's when x equals 0. Okay, so for example, all right, y equals mx plus b, where b, that number there is the y-intercept, because when I put in 0 for this number, for x, that's on the y-axis. Then this number is the slope, okay? It's the coefficient of x. It's called the slope. Now, because that's the rate, so how many numbers times x gives you your rate. Now, for example, y equals 2x minus 8. So if I write y equals mx plus b real small above it and line it up, I can see that m equals 2. Now that's equal to the slope. Now if you remember what the slope was, it's rise over run, or the change y makes divided by the change x makes. Then you have a formula which is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So there's the formula for slope. Now all of that's going into this number here when y is solved for on the left-hand side. So in this problem, 2 is the slope, and -8 is the y-intercept. Right, this number here is the y-intercept. Now this is when x equals 0. So for example, y equals 2 times 0, because x is 0, minus 8. So y equals -8. Okay? So you need to be able to get y by itself first. Here's example 2. Example 2 is y equals, well, let's do 2y equals -5x plus 12. Now first solve for y. Now in this problem we're going to divide all terms by 2. Okay, this 2 right here. So this means that you're going to get divide by 2 here, divide by 2 here, and divide by 2 here. So the 2's cancel there on the left side, so you have y equals -5/2 times x. That x stays there, plus 6. So in this problem, the slope, which is m, equals -5/2. And b is equal to 6. All right? So m equals -5/2 and b equals 6. All right, now let's do one more example like that, and sometimes it requires 2 steps. All right, so if I have 3y plus 7, all right, equals 2x minus 12, and we'll make it 15 this time. I don't know, 14. Okay. So 3y plus 7 equals 2x minus 14. Your directions are to tell slope and y-intercept. Now this requires to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 7 and then divide all the terms by 3. So the steps to do this would be to minus 7 and then divide all terms by 3. Okay, So I'm going to get 3y plus 7 equals 2x minus 14. Subtract the 7 from the 14. I cannot subtract it from the 2x. 3y equals 2x minus 21. Divide by 3. And I get y, cancel those out, y equals 2 over 3x minus 7. So m equals the slope, which is 2/3. And b equals the y-intercept, which is -7. So this is the slope, and this is the y-intercept. Okay, so to graph a line in y equals mx plus b form, okay, which is slope-intercept form, okay, follow these steps. Number 1, plot B, which is the y-intercept, with dot, which is a point. Okay? And then the second is to use M, okay, to plot second and third point. Right? M is the slope. So you're going to do the rise over run, next point. Rise over run, next point. Okay? So, for example, in a graph, and I think what I'm going to do is get some graph paper here. Y equals 2/3 x plus 3. So this is the y-axis, and this is the x-axis. And I'm going to do this in blue. And the steps are to plot B with a dot and use M to plot second and third point. All right. So B equals 3, M equals 2/3. That's the slope, and this is the y-intercept. So I'm going to plot B. Here's the y-axis. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to rise 2, 1, 2, and run 3, 1, 2, 3. Plot the second point. Now, I can also do -2 over -3. See, if I do -2 over -3, that's the same thing. -2, 1, 2, -2, -1, 2, 3. It's the same line. So then I graph this line like that. Okay? Now, let's do one more example. I'm almost out of time, though, so I'm going to do this one real quick. Y equals -3x minus 1. So I'm going to graph this. -1 is B, and I'm going to put a 1 underneath the -3, and I get -1, 2, 3, +1. Just like that. Okay, that's how you do it.